Good evening. Yeah, it's about, I think, 10:15 at night. I thought I'd pop down and have a quick chat. Yes, so what has been on my mind? Well, actually, what's been interesting is a couple of people have put comments where they've asked a question or two. So I thought I'd maybe just address that in the way that I do. So, yes, nice to see everybody. I don't know if anybody's there. If you are, it's lovely to see you. Yeah, so basically, a good friend of mine asked me this question. What's with the COVID vaccine? Well, I mean, not vaccine, sorry. The diagnostic test. So the actual test, that picks up the actual virus in the system, it seems to be less accurate than the flu virus. So I thought, first of all, I don't know if that's true or not, but it made me think about, again, the way science works. We must remember that this pandemic has only been going on for 3 months, tops. I mean, when was it? December 31? That it's probably since the end of November, let's say, reasonably. For the science process takes a very long time. It takes a while for scientists to get a handle on things. So what's been happening at the moment is, I would say, we have to be very careful about all that's going on in the media now. That's bursting out onto the into our sort of popular culture. Because how the scientists are handling this and how the world kind of needs to handle this. This is not actually a criticism. It's kind of the nature of how the world is handling it. So I'll talk about how the scientific process normally works. So normally you would come up with a question. You would then spend a long time researching that question, asking questions, doing experiments, verifying the experiments, testing it, doing lots of things to get to this point where you think your work is valid and you want to now publish it. You want to put it into the public or scientific domain. So you write a publication, you write a manuscript, then you submit that manuscript to a scientific journal, and then the editor of that journal, basically what he will do, or she, of course, will send that out to experts in the field. They will have a look at it. They'll usually get back to you and say, I like what you did there, I'm not crazy about what you did there, try that, maybe do this, and as a result you spend the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months fixing up your science, because science at the end of the day is all about peer review. It's not a perfect thing. Science is very imperfect. We're humans, after all. We make mistakes, and the scientific process is absolute. Why it's so profound and powerful is that it accommodates that. It says we have to reach consensus with things, and we have to have proper controls, and we have to do experiments properly, but there's a fair amount of subjectivity. Okay, we can get into what truth is, what validity is, and all of that, but let's just be clear. When you are engaged in the scientific process, you are really trying to get as strong a consensus on the work that you're doing, and then hopefully be moving in the right direction. I'm trying to drink tea and talk at the same time, but it's just proving very unsuccessful. So that's how it normally works, and it can take like 6 to 8 months to a year, and that's if you're fast. That's if you're fast and you're a ripping scientist. You can crank things out like that. What's happening at the moment? Look, I must also be cautious and say this is, I'm generalizing now. Obviously, there's incredible examples of very fast publications that are very valid. This is a generalization, but in general, this is how it works. So what's been happening now, and I understand why it's happening. It's important that it's happening. Is that scientists are trying to gather up as much of this data about this new virus as they possibly can. They're putting it on websites. There are valid websites, they're journal websites, very highly accredited journals. For example, the Journal of the Medical Association. They're putting up preprints. They're putting up scientific findings that are, I would say, at best, preliminary. They haven't gotten, and they're not claiming that they're anything other than preliminary. But they're putting it up there so that other scientists and the rest of the community can learn from what they're doing and try and keep one step ahead of this virus. So So the point I'm making is we can't read too much into what's coming out now because we are still learning about this thing, and we're going to be learning a lot more, and it's going to take time. So it's really important that process is respected. But of course, what does happen is this. The virus is viral. Fair enough, it's allowed to be, but the information is also incredibly viral. So there's this fairly legitimate information or preliminary data coming out and being posted in accessible places that is getting amplified by the media, I'm sure, and a lot of it is not necessarily understood clearly or proven yet. So we just really, I think the point I'm trying to make is we shouldn't be panicking, all right? We just need to kind of take a deep breath and acknowledge that the fact that these things do take a while. So just for an example, the way that the diagnostic works is that you take some device, stick up the nose, or you might stick it down the throat. You'd rather go down the throat because apparently it's less pleasant, more pleasant, if you can say that. But they don't know which works better. And so this group at Oxford have tried to figure out which is working better. But they've had to rely on other people's data, and they've said in their publication, in their web posting, that the data's just not, there's not enough of it. They haven't been able to look at the numbers, and you can't even blame the scientists because they're frantically just trying to get on top of this thing. They haven't got time to even sit down and write publications. So that's the point I wanted to make about that. Please come and ask other questions if you like. There's one other thing. Another friend of mine, Margaret, asked me, what's the future sort of evolutionary trajectory of this virus? No, I don't think we can say what that is. The one thing we can, there are a few things that we can sort of get some sort of a handle on. The first is coronaviruses have been with us for probably thousands of years. Some of them cause the common cold. They're different groupings of coronaviruses, so they have different impacts on us. You can say with reasonable certainty, and again, the way science works is these questions are always asked. They're never necessarily proven 100%, but it's an ongoing debate, as it should be. Now, usually what happens is over time, viruses evolve towards lower virulence. They become less dangerous. The reasons are fairly straightforward, just on the surface, and that being, if a virus is making you too sick, it's not going to be able to spread well. Look at Ebola. So Ebola is a fantastically nasty virus in that it kills, depending on where you are in the world, it's got I think, I'm not sure of the exact numbers, but like 50% more mortality in some parts of Africa, primarily because there's no good primary health care, so we do have to remember that. But the point is, it wipes out its population before it has much of a chance to spread. So the person, you can see they're extremely sick, and the chance of it spreading under those conditions are very limited. So as scary as Ebola is, and as much destruction as it causes, it's extraordinarily unlikely that it could ever become something like a global pandemic. This virus just hit the jackpot in that it can spread before symptoms, it seems, and it doesn't cause enough mortality so it creates a debate. If it was Ebola, we'd all be running for the hills and we'd be self-isolating until we were blue in the face. Forgive the pun. Or is that a pun? I don't believe it is a pun. But our behavior would be very well directed to just getting rid of this thing. And yeah, there's a debate. People are saying, no, we should go back to work. We should be ruining the economy. There's a debate. It is unintentionally playing on what it is to be human. We are able to create stories and have debates and not be sure about things. And so that's what it is to be human. So what's this virus going to do in the future? I have absolutely no idea. In the medium term, self-isolating is a pretty good idea, actually, because, we're just not offering it anything to transmit to. And over the long run, that tendency will cause it to become less virulent, because if it's just got nowhere to go, the viruses that do best are the ones that don't kill their host, so they can just circulate around their host for indefinite periods. remembering again that these are RNA viruses. They're not DNA viruses like measles or smallpox. So RNA viruses come from animal hosts. They generally live in other animals, and they periodically come to us, all right? HIV is a good example. It was a bushmeat in somewhere in, I can't remember what country it was. Influenza periodically sits in birds or pigs and then comes periodically into our populations. Coronaviruses, they probably come out of bats into our population fairly often, but very rarely do they become a viable zoonotic, and they usually probably get into the human host and die off and don't really cause much problem. But every now and again, because these RNA viruses tend to be more adaptable because they mutate a little bit faster, they might adapt quite well to the human host. So I really have gone on for I think a very long time tonight. So I think that is possibly enough for this evening. But if you have any, I'm quite enjoying these sessions. I love to hang out with you all. So please feel free to, my plan is to come back every second day or so. And when I do that, we can chat, and I hope that these are useful. My past as a scientist, I can at least have some perspectives that people without that kind of background may not have, and it might be useful to sometimes not have it filtered through the media, because that can make one hysterical. So sending you all lots of love, and yeah, let's talk soon. All the best to you. Bye bye.